All right, here we are again, KURadio.org. We got the debate going on here in New Hampshire, and we've been having fun. It's your boy Tykes hanging out here, KURadio.org. Casey's here with me as well from the Chronicle, and we've been having a good time watching this one. It's already been full of great, some good stuff, some good old BS. Just what I like to see. All right, we're going to jump right into this again. Thanks for tuning in.
Managed the $900 billion Recovery Act, which in fact put millions and millions of dollars into his city before he came and helped save his city. I was able to do it. I was able to pass the chemical weapons ban, arms control, and I was the first major leader holding public office to call for same-sex marriage. So I don't know what about the past of Barack Obama and Joe Biden was so bad. What happened? What is it that he wants to do away with? We were just beginning. It was just the beginning of what will be the future of moving this country beyond where it is now in significant ways. And there's ways to do that. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure you have someone who knows how to get things done and can lead the free world at the same time.
Mayor Buttigieg respond, then Senator Sanders.
Those achievements were phenomenally important because they met the moment. But now we have to meet this moment. And this moment is different. The next president is going to face challenges from global health security, like what we're seeing coming out of China, to cybersecurity and election security challenges that were barely thought of a few years ago. And here at home, we're seeing things like gig work transform what it means to be a worker in America in ways that we're...
You know what these gig workers don't have? Insurance.
That's facts.
God. You know how many Lyft drivers complain about that bullshit? God. He's so fucking stupid and narrow-sighted. Like, he's literally so short-sighted. He says these things, and it's like, oh, gig workers, we have a big gig economy. We need to be working for that. Okay, so what happens in the gig economy? These big corporate giants don't want to pay their fucking employees' healthcare costs.
They don't want to pay their employees the minimum wage to be able to sustain themselves.
Straight up. So, you know what, man? If you're going to use that as a...
It's like, once again, you have someone, like, stand up and they open so strong. He's like, yeah, politics of the past. Like, you know, like, I think it was interesting because Joe Biden almost, like, made it sound like it was, like, a personal attack on him, that people want to make, like, so many changes. Right. Like, didn't Obama and Biden to do it all together already? Like, no, they didn't. It's not how politics work. It's a constant change thing. But then, like, Pete opened strong saying, like, but there are still so many issues we need to address, right? And then, like, he just ends it by being Pete and not having a platform that matters, by being a middle ground candidate whose policies aren't, like, progressive enough to bring in any progressive voters, and like, are so moderate that, like, they're, you know, he's not different from anyone on the stage, and he's not different than what we've had.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Were barely conceived of not that long ago. We cannot solve the problems before us by looking back. We have to be ready to turn the page and change our politics before it's too late. And I'm seeing everywhere I go, not just fellow Democrats, but a striking number of independents and what I like to call future former Republicans ready to join in that historic American majority to turn the page.
Senator Klobuchar.
I am listening to this about meeting the moment. And my first thought is, I'm a fresh face up here for a presidential debate. And I figure, Pete, that 59, my age, is the new 38 up here. The second thing.
It's funny, get it? Because all of the people on the stage are old white men. I mean, Pete's pretty young to be on the stage. But.
Yeah, that's what we were taught. That's what I heard. Not we. I was listening to Jimmy Dore, I believe. And if you guys know who Jimmy Dore is, you need to go and follow him on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, all sorts of shit. He's telling truth to power for sure. He's an awesome comedian who's kind of started doing a political show. But let's see.
Thing I think about is this.
Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, well. All right, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know.
I'll bring it
It's
back.
just an interesting, like, thing that on this stage of, like, it's come down to 69 being one of the younger candidates.
Right. Yeah.
Or 59. Did she say 59? She totally
59.
did. But like with 59 being one of the younger ages on the stage, I think that's something that is a strong point for a candidate, right? Everyone's so worried about Bernie dying in office.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But I also want to keep in mind that Donald Trump is one of the older presidents we've ever had. So I think for the Democratic concern to be age seems a little bit counterintuitive because there are so many policy issues that they can tackle and really show that they're superior on. I think that it's a very hard argument to say that climate change is something that Republicans are right about. I think that's something that even for Republican voters is a little bit hard to get on board with in some cases. So there are like things that the Democratic Party has that are strong points, and I think just hitting on like age is not the thing to do because we already have an old president. That's not the concern going into 2020 is whether or not you're younger than Trump. I think
the only reason that you should bring age into the conversation, I remembered what I was gonna say, people. Good old Jimmy Dore came through, said this. You can't trust a guy who goes from mayor to being in the pocket of just about everybody out there. He's 38. He's not old enough to have shooken enough fucking hands to be like in this point, you know? Bernie started out as mayor. That's how he first made his entrance.
And then he's been in the Senate for however long.
Right.
He's like one of our he
So
was an
he really-
independent senator for many years, right? Didn't even call himself a Democrat for a lot of years.
So in a lot of ways, it's a little fishy that we got this guy who's just a mayor coming out and making all of this money, getting all these campaign contributions, so much wealth, and a lot of people who really seem to enjoy this guy for some reason. Anyways, for me, that's the only age debate that needs to be brought into this whole thing is the fact that he's a little too young, a little too slimy, a little too slick.
The new 38 up here. The second thing I think about is this, and that is
new 50.
Okay, there you go. Meeting the moment. We have.
Was that Joe Biden?
I think so.
Is that Joe Biden saying that? 70's the new 50. Shut the fuck up. You are so delusional, dude. You just go in the back and smoke a joint.
I feel like okay, boomer memes were just made with like, Joe Biden in mind.
Oh my goodness. And he had to say, this is an attack on me, bro. Bernie just had a heart attack and he's like, not
He's
me.
just up there
Not talking
hanging
about
out.
me. I'm good.
Had a moment the last few weeks, Mayor, and that moment was these impeachment hearings. And there was a lot of courage that you saw from only a few people. There was courage from Doug Jones, our friend of Alabama, who took that tough vote. There was courage from Mitt Romney, who took a very, very difficult vote.
If I may, I don't think people who voted against party lines made a tough decision. Specifically like talking about Mitt Romney, right, and Doug Jones. Right. With Doug Jones, yeah, you hold with party lines even though you're in Alabama because not like voting with the Democrats makes it so Democrats don't like you, and it doesn't really win you points with Republicans because they don't need your vote to win anyway. And then with Mitt Romney is not up for re-election until 2024. And the Senate majority for Republicans is so small, like it's not with enough numbers that they could just ostracize him from committees and kick him out of the party, right? So they can't de-party him, like take him out of the party platform, and he's not up for re-election until 2024. So to call these courageous decisions is a bit of a stretch. Yeah, it's a bit of a.
There was courage, as I read today, about Lieutenant Colonel Vindman being escorted out of the White House. What he took courage. But what you said, Pete, as you were campaigning through Iowa, as three of us were jurors in that impeachment hearing, you said it was exhausting to watch and that you wanted to turn the channel and watch cartoons. It is easy to go after Washington because that's a popular thing to do. It is much harder, as I see Senator Shaheen in the front row, such a leader. It is much harder to lead and much harder to take those difficult positions because I think this going after every single thing that people do because it's popular to say and makes you look like a cool newcomer. I don't think that's what people want right now. We have a newcomer in the White House, and look where it got us. I think having some experience.
So, once again, what is happening?
I love these arguments, man. I'm spacing out half the time, and every time I come in, it's like, wow,
She's
that's why I'm
talking-
spacing out.
Okay,
Lol.
like she's saying having experience is a good thing.
Newcomers are bad.
Amy Klobuchar, I get that you're in the Senate, but saying experience is a good thing makes it sound like you're endorsing Joe Biden. So I don't know why. Like, it just makes it sound like she's endorsing Joe Biden or someone like Bernie.
Experience also gets you STDs in some cases.
That's facts. But like, I don't know, Amy Klobuchar. I just don't know what she's doing on the stage here. Also, I think it's interesting. I thought that after Iowa, people would be attacking Pete because really, like, he came out and he said, "I won," before like it was really announced.
Right now.
And everyone's mad at him for it. And can you tell that everyone's just going after Pete already? They're like trying to really stick it to him, which I kind of appreciate.
And we literally have not even seen them bring this shit up yet. It has not even been addressed even like offhandedly at all. You know. So I agree with you. He really, oh boy.
I feel like Pete, like the rest of the debate is gonna be them just shitting on Pete.
I can't wait. I hope he's prepared for this because he ain't prepared.
Is a good thing.
Senator Sanders, then Mayor Buttigieg.
George, can I
Look,
say
at the end of the day, we got to ask ourselves a very simple question, whether it's healthcare, in fact, or anything else. Why are we the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee healthcare to all people, pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, have 87 million people uninsured or underinsured, 30,000 die because they don't get to a doctor on time, and 500,000 people going bankrupt for what reason? Because they have cancer or heart disease or Alzheimer's. We got to ask that question, why is it? Why have we been talking about health care in this country for 100 years? And here is the answer. If you want real change in health care, at the end of the day, you're going to have to take on the insurance companies and tell them the function of healthcare is healthcare for all, not huge profits for the insurance companies. You're going to have to take on the drug companies and their corruption and their price fixing and tell them, sorry, we're not going to pay 10 times more for prescription drugs than do the people of other countries. But at the end of the day, there's no way around it. You may want to nibble around the edges, but ultimately we need to rally the American people to tell the drug companies, to tell Wall Street, to tell the insurance companies, to tell the fossil fuel industry, this country belongs to all of us, not a handful of special
Mayor
interests.
Buttigieg, wrap this up and then we...
Please, Mayor Booty Care.
I have heard this conversation on this debate stage from these people now every single debate, and they're all right. Everybody on this stage is better on economic justice and health care than anybody in the Republican Party, and 1,000,000 times better than Donald Trump.
This guy's a cuck.
That is not the question in front of us today. The question in front of us today is, how are we going to beat Donald Trump? You were in the Clinton campaign in 1992, and the mantra was, it's the economy.
Who are these people they pay to clap at that every time that gets said?
Yeah, considering he has no actual supporters. Like,
But
I'm pretty sure Tom Steyer pulled like 0% of the vote in Iowa. Like, I'm gonna check. Has me giggling.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a couple of people killed themselves because he announced he was still in it.
He got 0.3% of the vote. 0.3%.
0.3. A little bit more than 2 suicides.
So he did better than John Delaney.
Hey guys, here's his
Michael Bloomberg.
Here's his we didn't even talk at all about that random guy Duvall who randomly got stuck into Iowa, where it's like, oh really, this guy who we haven't
a circus.
So here's what Steyer has said so far. Well, they're all right, but we have to beat Trump.
Thank you. It's almost like that's what the election is about, beating Trump.
God. Okay, Captain Obvious, let's hear what you got.
Me stupid. Well, if you look at what Mr. Trump is saying, he's saying those words. It's the economy, stupid. I trust every one of these people 1,000,000 times more. But we're going to have to take Mr. Trump down on the economy, because if you listen to him, he's crowing about it every single day, and he's going to beat us unless we can take him down on the economy, stupid. And that's the issue here. It is not about who has the best.
Well, he's running on that. That's his strong point right now.
My thing is, yes, Donald Trump is very strong on the economy. We have a very good economy right now. We have a very low unemployment rate in the country right now. And there are a lot of people who are doing better than they were ever since the 2008 recession. They're at the best they've ever been since then. Okay, and I get that. I think that he's right and that none of this matters in the scheme of beating Donald Trump. But I also think that the point of the primary is to get someone who represents the party really well. Yes, the point of the primary is to try and get a candidate who can win, and I think that's an important goal to have. But there's not a lot of point in winning with a candidate who says like a Joe Biden, whose healthcare plan is not as good, because at the end of the day, you're putting someone in office who their change is not that drastic from Trump, right? Like, I think people pick Trump because drastic change is needed in this country. That's why Donald Trump is in the Oval Office right now. And that's why people support him, is because even Republicans see that drastic change is necessary for some of the issues we're seeing, some of the corruption we're seeing. If drastic change is necessary, then we need to be looking at these things like healthcare plans. To act like they are not an important part of going into 2020 is, I think, just uninformed.
Yeah, silly. Well, the thing about unemployment is that people are getting jobs because they have to, you know, and that's something that's a little, you know, there's people who are retiring and still getting jobs and stuff. So that's not necessarily, a lot of these things are not great metrics.
Just because I can get a job does not mean that I am doing economically well.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Because I do have a job. I have 2 jobs.
Right. So.
And I still can't afford things health care. So yes, healthcare plans freaking matter.
And we haven't let him finish quite yet, but you know where I hope where I'd like to see him go is saying something like, "Hey, you know, the economy is some big thing that Donald Trump has going for him right now, but let's be honest here. We're headed for a major collapse, and every economist is predicting it, whether it's now or whenever. It's in the future, and it's coming."
Yeah, recessions are inevitable, but we're not exactly doing anything to make it better.
So it's going to be the worst one we've seen, and I've only been alive for 23 short years, and it's going to be the worst one we've seen. So the answer to remedying that situation is helping the people of the economy, especially the base, like the kids. Like, you know, we're out here, dude. We are the future, and if you don't fucking help us out, how do you expect our economy to do well if we can't do well ourselves?
Yeah, and once again, he's like, that kind of like what you just said made me think. He's saying economy stupid. Okay, well, when someone says economy stupid to me, I'm like, I already have a job. Like, I can get a job. What I can't do is pay for healthcare. So the economy of my world means I don't have enough money to pay for healthcare, to pay for even car insurance, to pay for things like just based on like minimum income and stuff like that. So economy stupid to a lot of people on the left means I need free healthcare, because the economy of like just like living day to day, I can get through living day to day, but if something happens, I can't afford that. I don't have any backup rainy day plan. And so, economy stupid to Republicans means we don't want a deficit. We don't want a super expensive healthcare plan, sure. But economy stupid to any Democrat means, is the economy working for me and other people?
Right.
Healthcare plan. All the healthcare plans are better, 1,000,000 times better. The question is, who can go toe-to-toe with Mr. Trump? Who can take down Mr. Trump, because he's the real threat?
Oh, and that's you, right? Right, bud? Mr. Kilt Tie? The fuck?
The country. And let me say, you have to have experience to take him down. This is not a question of he's a nice guy who's going to listen. We need people with experience. That's why I'm worried about Mayor Pete. You need to be able to go toe-to-toe with this guy and take him down on the debate stage, or we're going to lose. And that's actually the issue in front of Democratic voters. I have heard this debate so many darn times, and I love all these people, and they're all right. If we win, we can get the right thing, Bernie. I am with you. If we win, we can get the right thing, Pete and Amy. But we got to win, or we are in deep trouble, and we keep not talking about the facts. Mayor.
I see what he's saying.
What does this guy add?
But yeah, he number one, he hasn't said anything about his plan.
Yeah. And
like what he thinks is correct healthcare wise. He just said that Pete, Amy, and Bernie are right when their plans are all pretty drastically different. So once he's not doing anything to advance his platform, and I think he's kind of coming just out on the debate stage and saying we need someone who can beat Trump, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows. I'm pretty sure any Democrat, their goal in 2020 is to beat Trump. And if you ask someone who's a Bernie supporter, I obviously am pretty partial to Bernie. I'm a little bit biased there. I think Bernie has a better chance of beating Trump than Joe Biden. So, And it's a good part of it is because of things like this healthcare plan.
Yes.
And like, I don't really understand like what he's trying to contribute here. I think all that he's saying is we need to beat Trump, when it's these policies, it's these debates, it's going out on stage and getting a base that's really excited about you, that's going to beat Trump, right? Like, these debates are necessary because, like, if not, what else would these candidates run on? Just the fact that they're a Democrat, right? Like, that's like the only thing that they would run on besides the stuff that they talk about in these debates. And
based on
policies.
that statement that Steyer just made, he just needs to come out and say,
these debates are not necessary.
Yeah, these are not necessary. Just go and vote for Bernie because he's the one who's going to win, and it's clear. Look at the buzz, okay? All of these other people rely on these fucking institutions to create buzz, whereas I wouldn't need that to know about Bernie. I wouldn't need that.
Yeah. Like, at this point, like, he's basically saying, like, if you don't already know a candidate and care about them, then they're not worth taking time. Like, I don't know. He's basically minimizing the importance of having a unique platform and a platform that's good for America, when that's like the whole point of president. There's no point of getting someone in office like Pete Buttigieg if it's not going to do anything to like solve the greater problems at the end of the day. So yeah, it does matter what these people's healthcare platforms are. It matters what all of their platforms are, and that's why we're talking about them.
I agree with that. Yeah, it does kind of minimize that for sure. That's a good point.
Pete.
Here's how we're going to win. Here's how we're going to win. We're going to force this president to stand on that debate stage next to somebody who actually lives in a middle-class neighborhood in the industrial Midwest, in the exact kind of community that he pretends to speak for but turns his back on. We're going to put up somebody who's not afraid to call out things like his disgraceful behavior at the National Prayer Breakfast and remind Americans that God does not belong to a political party. We're going to win by having somebody...
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that one a little bit, but, you know.
This is once again turning back to that. But Republicans are mean, though. But Donald Trump is mean. Like, I get it that he doesn't act very presidential. I think everyone in the country knows that. I think everyone knows that he talks out a lot on Twitter and that he says a lot of things that are rude, okay? That's not a surprise to anyone. You acting more professional than him is not going to win you the office, and I think we learned that in 2016. I want to quit rehashing everything that happened in 2016 and people just saying, oh, the same thing we did in 2016, let's do that. Because that's kind of what I'm hearing from candidates like Joe Biden, from candidates like Buttigieg. I'm just saying, like, he's literally just saying that he's going to do the same thing Hillary did, which was be nicer than Donald Trump. And where's Hillary? Not in the Oval Office.
Yeah, she's out here saying some not so nice things about Bernie. Kind of hurting him, you know. Undermining the
candidate who has the best shot of winning.
Yeah, kind of undermining his campaign a little bit there, and in a way more blatant way than she thinks that he did. Anyways, man, yeah, that's
up there who can call him to account for his refusal to serve when it was his turn and remind him what serving this country is really about. If we want to beat this president, we've got to be ready to move on from the playbook that we have relied on in the past and unify this country around a new and better vision.
Oh, the playbook. You talk about the playbook that we've used in the past. It's funny. It's almost like this guy's read the first couple chapters of the playbook himself. It's kind of funny.
That's how we're going to win. And when I talk about exhaustion, this is important. Because I got to tell you, the American people from outside of Washington, we feel a sense of exhaustion watching the division and the dysfunction there. And that is not to take anything away from the very good work that you and our other Democratic members of Congress and the Senate are doing. It's not. But the reason I raise that sense of exhaustion is I see it. I see that temptation to walk away from it all among so many people that I've spoken to in communities from Claremont to Manchester and in the other states that we're in. And the important thing for the American people to remember is this is 2020. It's an election year. And if the Senate was the jury before, you are the jury now. The American people are the jury that will have the final verdict on this president and on the senators in the GOP who protected him.
Pete, fundamentally, you are missing the lesson of Donald Trump's victory. Donald Trump is not the cause of all of our problems, and we're making a mistake when we act like he is.
That's right.
He is a symptom of a disease that has been building up in our communities for years and decades. And it is our job to get to the harder work of actually curing the disease. Most Americans feel like the political parties have been playing you lose, I lose, you lose, I lose for years. And you know who's been losing this entire time? We have. Our communities have. Our communities' way of life is disintegrating beneath our feet. That's why Iowa, a traditional swing state, went to Trump by almost 10 points. That's why Ohio, a traditional swing state, is now so red that I'm told we're not even going to campaign there. So these communities are seeing their way of life get blasted into smithereens. We've automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs and counting. We're closing 30% of New Hampshire stores and malls, and Amazon, the force behind that, is literally paying zero in taxes. These are the changes that Americans are seeing and feeling around us every day, and if we get to the hard work of curing those problems, we will not just defeat Donald Trump in the fall, but we'll actually be able to move our communities forward.
I know we're going to hear a lot more on this. We're going to move on.
That was exactly what Yang needed to say.
Yep.
Because I think
that's why we need him on the stage.
There's a lot of people who are very disappointed, like Yang supporters who, following Iowa, felt like, this is it, guys. And like, I don't want Yang Gang to feel bad because they have a candidate who's coming on stage and he's like skipping the bullshit. He's skipping these party problems. These Donald Trump is a bad guy. Because I think that's like another thing is Democrats love to conflate American issues with Donald Trump as our president. And yeah, right. I don't like that he's in office. Right, he's not a candidate I like. He's not a candidate I think represents our country well to the world, or even just like represents our beliefs well. And I would like to think that our country is better than that. But Donald Trump isn't the reason that our country has so many issues. Our country was more partisan before 2016 happened, and 2016 expanded on that, and Donald Trump has definitely not done anything to stop partisanship in our country. But people are like upset with parties, and they've been upset with parties, and they've liked these anti-establishment candidates for longer than just Donald Trump. And the reason they're turning to them is exactly what Andrew Yang is saying. We're sick of seeing Wall Street get off scot-free for things like the 2008 recession that could have been solved, right? The 2008 recession didn't have to happen. And things like, yeah, Jeff Bezos doesn't pay a freaking cent. He doesn't pay a cent of taxes. And then
it's garbage.
That burden gets put on the middle class. People are seeing that, and they're frustrated with that. And that's exactly what Donald Trump plays to, is he plays to all these people who feel like they've been forgotten. Right, these Midwest communities. He called it out perfectly. He's saying, all these people that I know you feel forgotten, and I know you feel like your government doesn't care about you.
That's how you're going to win.
You need a candidate who's willing to care about those people as much as Donald Trump says he does.
We're living in a country where a server that makes under $20,000 a year has got to worry about saving money for taxes at the end of the year because they've been making only cash and not a whole lot of it gets reported. So, you see what I'm saying? Someone like Jeff Bezos that's making, I don't even want to take a stab at knowing how much he's
billions
making.
Of dollars.
The guy gets richer every second I fart. You know, every time I fart, the guy makes $300 million. And the fact that there are people out here, like I said, a server working a cash tip job, making less than $20,000 a year and worrying come tax season about filing their taxes because they're going to have money saved. And they're
not
worried.
Being able to fix their car if it breaks down, and then losing their job, right? Stuff like that. That's genuine concerns and like genuine problems in people's lives.
Tap into that. Tap in, and like we said earlier, Young Vote is, there's more of us coming in, and like it's really cool. KC over here provides an awesome perspective because she just turned 18. She's one of those new voters, wasn't around in 2016.
Yeah. I was polling for Bernie from not the polls.
Yeah. And so that's really cool. This is a whole demographic that is clearly very engaged and hasn't been able to engage politics yet. So, people like Yang, I'm really glad that he at least is making the debate stage because we need a couple of people on there just to break from the monotony of the bullshit.
Well, and just from like you said, that monotony of like, this is what the Democrats want. This is Democrats. Because I'm not seeing anything on the stage that's not what we saw in 2016. It's just the same shit over and over.
Yep.
And they're just sitting here having the same fight about Medicare for all. Like I thought we'd hear talk about Medicare in the debate, and then it comes up and it's like the first question. That's all they ever talk about is healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to, you're like, yes, healthcare is a problem in this country. Part of the reason healthcare is a problem is because we don't let rich people, we don't give any consequences to rich people. We don't make rich people help pay any of the burden. That's a bigger issue, and I'm glad that someone's at least bringing it to the forefront.
I'm going to take a wild stab. This is conspiracy theory, just thought of, a little brain fart of mine. But what if we've spent a lot of time on healthcare here? What if this is definitely some kind of media ploy to spend a lot of time on the one issue that might be divisive? And, interestingly, which is good for Bernie, they think it's divisive, but it's actually not as divisive as it seems.
A lot of people support Medicare for all, and that number is only growing.
So this is an interesting tactic that may just backfire on these motherfuckers. I'd love to see it.